So today, we're jumping into a really interesting idea from our source material. And the argument is this, that for a lot of girls, homeschooling is way more than just a different way to learn. It can actually be a sanctuary, a place built specifically for them to grow and find their confidence. So yeah, let's get into it.
And it all starts with this one big question. I mean, why is it that so many girls see their self-confidence just plummet during their school years? It's something we've seen happen over and over, right? A super bright, curious kid starts school, and then something shifts. Her self-esteem just takes a nosedive. So what is it about traditional schools that's causing this confidence crisis?
Well, to really get to the bottom of it, our source material calls this the confidence crisis. The core idea is that the specific pressures girls run into in conventional schools can create this perfect storm for self-doubt to just take over. So let's break down exactly what those pressures look like. Okay, so first up, we've got these really rigid peer structures. You know what I'm talking about. Think back to the schoolyard. You had the cliques, the popular kids, the outsiders, and for any girl who doesn't fit perfectly into one of those little boxes, school can become this constant source of anxiety. It's like having to navigate a social minefield every single day. And it's not just the social stuff. There's also this huge academic pressure. It's that one-size-fits-all model, right? Everyone learns the same thing at the same speed. But what if your strengths are different? What if you're amazing at something that's not on the standard test? Well, it's easy to start feeling not just bored, but like you're not good enough. So you take those two things, the social pressure and the academic pressure, and they combine into what the source says is maybe the most damaging thing of all, this crushing need to just fit in. And we're not just talking about wearing the right clothes. This is about shaving off the interesting parts of your personality, hiding your real interests, and keeping quiet just so you can be accepted. And this quote from the material just hits it perfectly. The school hallway becomes a gauntlet of social judgment. Wow, just think about that. It's this daily emotional battle where all your energy goes into managing what other people think of you instead of, actually learning and exploring what you love. That is just exhausting. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? This is where our source material flips the script. It presents homeschooling not just as another option for learning math and science, but as a sanctuary for growth. A totally different way of thinking that's designed to fight back against all those pressures we just talked about. So what's the philosophy behind the sanctuary? It's basically a three-step process. Step 1, get rid of the bad stuff. Remove that gauntlet of social judgment. Just take it out of the equation. Step 2, personalize everything. Make the learning fit her brain, not the other way around. And once you've done that, step 3 is where the magic happens. You unlock her real potential for deep, genuine growth. But what does educational freedom look like day to day? Well, with a tailored curriculum, it means you can go deep instead of just wide. So instead of skimming the surface of 20 different topics, you could, for example, spend 3 whole months just diving into the life and work of Marie Curie, simply because that's what sparks your curiosity. It's all about depth over breadth and letting real passion lead the way. Now just picture this for a second, an environment where you can explore any weird idea, ask any dumb question, and get super into your niche hobbies without anyone making fun of you. Our source material has a name for this, psychological safety. And the argument is that this is one of the most powerful things homeschooling can offer. It creates a space where a girl's real self can finally come out and be celebrated, not judged. And that feeling of safety, it leads to something the material calls emotional freedom. Basically, it's a state where your sense of who you are is solid. It comes from the inside instead of constantly needing your friends to tell you you're okay. And this isn't just a nice idea. The source points to research showing that homeschooled girls often keep a much higher level of self-esteem all through those chaotic teenage years, which is just such a critical time. Okay, but let's be real. When people hear homeschooling, a few big questions always pop up, right? And they're totally valid questions. Our source material knows this and gets right to it, tackling the most common ones head on. And you can probably guess the first one. Yup, it's the big one. But what about socialization? The myth is that homeschooled kids are isolated loners, but the reality, as presented in the source, is pretty different. The argument is that school socialization is kind of artificial. You're only ever with people your own exact age. Homeschooling, on the other hand, can open the door to socializing in a way that's much more like, well, the real world. So what does that even mean, real-world socialization?
Well, we're talking about things like homeschool co-ops for group projects, volunteering, joining local sports teams or art programs. And here's the key difference, according to the source. You're constantly interacting with people of all different ages, kids, adults, seniors. That builds a kind of social skill that's way more flexible and, authentic.
All right, so we've talked social skills. What about the other big worry? Academics. Can homeschooling really be rigorous enough to get you ready for college and a competitive career? Well, let's look at what the data in our source says. First off, this isn't some tiny niche movement anymore. I mean, just look at a place like New York City. Homeschooling enrollment there shot up by 324% in just a few years. And get this, the source says many of these families are choosing it because they want better academics, not worse. That's a huge shift in how people are thinking about this.
And this next number is even more powerful. The source brings up research showing that when homeschooled students do go to college, they consistently do really, really well. We're talking about often ranking in the top 25% of students when it comes to grades and graduation rates. The argument is that learning to master subjects at your own pace really pays off in the long run.
So let's pull all of this together. After all is said and done, what's the big picture goal here? What's the end game? According to our source, it's not about test scores. The real measure of success is the kind of person this path helps to shape. Let's look at that empowered future. At the end of the day, the goal is to raise a young woman who doesn't just put up with being different, she celebrates it. When you take away that constant pressure to be like everyone else, you give her the space to actually grow into her unique self, with her own thoughts, her own personality, and her own passions. And once you have that solid foundation of self-acceptance, you can build some serious emotional resilience. The source argues that this kind of stable, supportive environment builds an inner strength. It means you can face challenges not by asking, what will they think of me, but from a place of knowing who you are. And all of this leads to one final thing: the ability to handle a really complex world. When you combine deep critical thinking skills, social skills from real-world interactions, and a rock-solid sense of self, well, you're not just ready to survive out there, you're ready to innovate and you're ready to lead. And we're going to end on this last thought from our source because it really just says it all. The greatest gift of this whole approach, it's not a 4.0 GPA or a shelf full of trophies, it's something so much bigger. It is the freedom to become fully herself.